We're going to go into a lot more detail on the subject today, and we're going to give you some easy to follow instructions. But let's start with a quick review of last week's topic, disciplining your child.
Okay, you might remember we had a list of, I believe it was 5 points. As a matter of fact, if we can ask Katrina, if we can ask Katrina to put that list up for a moment there. There we go. So we had 5 points. Number 1 was never give an order that you cannot enforce. And we're going to talk about that one more in detail today. Point number 2 was always follow up immediately. In other words, don't wait, to see whether or not your child is eventually going to comply. A lot of people have a hard time with this. They ask their child, hey, stop running in the house, and then the child doesn't stop immediately. Well, that means that the child is becoming self-governing. And that's really, that's a problem. So we see that at a karate school a lot of times. Let's say, and this is one of the things that we have to teach our beginning instructors a lot. Let's say you have a child that's just excited about being in the class. He's only 5 years old, and he's jumping up and down, and he's spinning in a circle, and he's supposed to be holding still.
Exactly.
Well, the first thing we do, especially if it's a new child, we give him a chance to actually go by the rules. He might not even know that there's a rule, right? So we tell him, hey, listen, Johnny, that's not okay. You have to hold still. Right? And we make sure that Johnny looks at us and tell him, hey, did you hear what I said? Say, yes, sir. Right? And Johnny says, yes, sir. Now we walk away, and the next 5 seconds are really crucial. Right? If that child, the moment you walk away, starts jumping again and spinning in a circle again, that's basically a communication.
Yes, we went over that in our instructors meeting Tuesday, and that was very good eye-opener for a lot of the younger upcoming instructors.
Exactly. And I see that mistake also, and I think you've seen the same thing. A lot of parents often make that mistake. It's just a really, really easy mistake to make. You tell your child, hey, do this and this and this, and then you walk away and you don't check whether or not your child is doing it immediately. So in the next 5 seconds is really the most revealing moment to look at, right? If you just told Johnny, hey, you cannot be jumping around like this, right? And then you walk away, and within the first 5 seconds, Johnny jumps around again, and he repeats what he was doing. Well, that means he is ignoring what you said.
Pretty much.
Right? Either he is thinking, I don't have to do what you tell me, or he didn't even really register what happened, which is probably more common, that he doesn't really even totally understand the communication. He says, he's just in one ear, out the other, right? Excuse me. Or it could be all out defiance, right? But in either case, if you want to make sure that you have an impact on your child and that your child is actually listening to you, well, you need to make sure that he complies right at the beginning.
Yes.
So, and you have to look at this as an opportunity to let him know, no, I really meant it. All right, so if I just said, Johnny, don't jump around, I walk away and he starts jumping around again immediately, now is my opportunity to immediately, to correct that and to immediately address him again and say, Johnny, I just told you that you can't be jumping around like that. That's not okay. And you did it again right after I told you. You need to stop it. Do you understand me? And you look them in the eyes, you make sure they look you in the eyes. Or if the child does not look you in the eyes, then you're probably not getting through to him or her, right? So that's really the always follow up immediately point.
Yes.
And if there's a good chance we're going to get into more detail with that and the importance of that in a future show.
Yeah, because that's like could take a whole show just to cover that.
And then point number 3 was don't justify your orders. Meaning that you don't want to teach or get your child into the habit of always asking why, right?
Discussions.
Exactly. It's okay to explain why you're asking your child to do a certain thing, but I would highly recommend don't do that until after the child has done it. Otherwise, you're teaching the child to always respond with questioning you. If you tell your son, hey, let's say again, it's Johnny, right? Johnny, you need to put out the trash. Why? Well, because it's a responsibility, and we all have to share responsibility.
Why can't I do it later?
Right. So the answer to that, if you ask why, is simply, well, because I asked you to. And we can talk about it later, but right now you need to put out the garbage.
That's a really good one, too.
Right? And remember that you're teaching patterns, no matter what you do. Whatever you do, it's going to become a habit, it's going to become a pattern.
A lot of parents try to talk too much to their child, and they try to reason with them.
Right.
Which,
right.
in certain circumstances,
Right, it has to be done, right? You
Yeah.
can't just keep your child
But you
ignorant.
shouldn't do it right then and then.
Exactly. It's the wrong time to do it, right? And then we had point number 4, which was always praise positive behavior. And that's really important.
'Cause especially if they didn't do it exactly the correct way.
Very good point. Very good point. What we sometimes do, we want to have, let's say again, let's say taking all the dishes from the dinner table and putting them away in the kitchen, right? And your child is starting to do that. Maybe he's even volunteering to do that, but now he's not doing it the way that you would do it. You can almost be guaranteed he's not going to do it the way that you're going to do it, right?
Exactly.
And you might express some unhappiness about that, right? So what you really want to keep in mind is that what you want to praise is your child's attempt to do the right thing,
Yes.
not his success at doing the right thing, because you want your child to try and try again until he gets it right.
Yeah, you don't want to discourage them from the beginning.
Exactly. So the same thing we have in a karate class. In other words, you have a child that is trying to do really good push-ups, and he is, he's eager to do them, but he does them incorrectly. But you can tell, that he's really like excited about it, but he's like, looking like a piece of rubber trying to do his push-ups, right? If he previously wasn't pushing himself that hard and now he's pushing himself harder, absolutely he's going to get praised. Say, that is fantastic. I really like the way you do the push-ups. Now, do you want to do the push-ups like the black belts do the push-ups? Kind of give him an incentive to improve on it, right? Make it a big deal. So always praise positive behavior.
That's a good one.
And then point number 5 was pain is an acceptable motivator.
Oh, that's right.
Pain is an acceptable motivator. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean physical pain, though. Right? A timeout can be painful. Going to your room can be painful. Right? Just a very stern look into your child's eyes.
Taking away their video games.
Taking away the video games. That's right. But it's not something that will emotionally scar your child.
Like we talked about it last time, they learn, you touch, stove's hot, you touch it, you learn not to touch it again really fast.
Right, exactly. Right. So that's not, it's something that's, I think
Doesn't scar you, it just,
Yeah. You learn from it very quickly. As a matter of fact, the more pain there is, the faster you learn. Just like you just said the example with the oven plate or the stove plate, right? Or riding a bicycle and meeting the pavement for the first time in your life.
Exactly.
Nothing teaches you faster than that, right? So. And we do not walk away from that with any kind of negativity other than realizing that, man, I'm never going to do that again.
Exactly.
Right? And there's been confusion, especially in the 60s and 70s when we grew up. When I grew up, there was a lot of talk about, this, you don't want to spank your child. And it is probably true that you should not spank your child emotionally and be upset at the child. You could be angry at your child. That's a different game then. Right? Okay, so that was point number 5. Pain is an acceptable motivator.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have point number 6, and that was realize that that's not on the screen. Realize that everything your child does, he does because he's getting some kind of a payoff. And that's really important to understand. Whatever we do, it's not just your child, it is you, me, everybody. Mm-hmm. Whatever we do because there's something in it for us. We get something out of that. So now sometimes we do something, we realize, well, I'm not getting what I wanted out of that, so I'm not going to do it again.
Exactly. It's not working.
Right. But if you have somebody who engages in repetitive behavior, let's say your child again and again and again does the same thing that you don't want him to do, he's doing it because there's something in it for him. So if your child
teasing a sibling or something.
Teasing a sibling that's an excellent example, as a matter of fact. And he might know that you're going to next get upset at him. He might know this is going to cause some kind of a argument or problem or consequence, right? But if he keeps on doing it and he keeps on getting that consequence again and again, he knows it's going to get that consequence ahead of time. He doesn't care.
It could be an attention-grabbing thing. Or
it could be,
anything.
exactly. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in detail in a little bit because it has to do with the point we're going to get more detailed with today.
Okay.
But that's the thing to remember. When a person does something repetitively and continues to do it, even though the consequence seems not very palatable, there is a reason. There's something he's getting out of it. And a lot of times identifying that can solve your problem.